John, on Ukraine funding, some of the experts that I've spoken to say that one of the consequences of the funding not being advanced may be that Ukraine might need to think more seriously about ending this conflict diplomatically. Now, I know you've said many times that it's up to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people when to start negotiating, but at this point in the conflict, and considering waning public support both in the U.S. and in Europe, can you just talk about some of the thinking behind the calculus of a ceasefire versus a dragged-out impasse?
Yeah, Patsy, you'll be wholly unsatisfied by this answer. President Zelensky gets to determine how and when this war ends and under what conditions he's willing to negotiate with Mr. Putin. If you're sitting in his seat right now and his troops, you're looking out across that front and you see a lot of Russians. You see a lot of Russians that are getting increased in size because Mr. Putin continues to recruit additional manpower and throw them into the fight. If you're looking across that battlefront, you're seeing a Russian armed forces that they're willing to go on the offensive. They're probably not just going to sit in defensive positions all winter long. And so you want to be ready to take that on, and you want to be able to not only defend yourself, but go on the offense. He gets to determine what that looks like. What we want to do since the beginning of this conflict is make sure he has the tools to do that. And those tools are about to run out.
And just one more, John. Two more, actually, if I may. As we are in year-end season.
That's not up to me.
As we are in year-ender season, can you talk about foreign policy goals, focus, challenges, looking ahead to 2024 as the U.S. deals with strategic competition with China, the war in Ukraine, and now this war in Gaza threatening to widen throughout the Middle East?
Well, without getting ahead of the president, wouldn't do that. But I think he would tell you that we have accomplished an awful lot on the world stage, and American leadership has been clearly demonstrated in so many ways across so many regions. NATO is stronger and bigger. We've got an increasingly networked and cooperative arrangement in the Indo-Pacific. And just today, Jake Sullivan's in Seoul, meeting trilaterally with Japan and South Korea. I could go on. And I would expect to see in this last year of this term, us putting our foot down on the accelerator and pushing all these changes even farther forward.
And just really briefly on the Houthis, John, on these actions that you're taking, how should we see that in the context of the Gaza war? Do you feel that do you see this as a conflict widening via Iran proxies, or is this separate?
It's a risk. It's clearly a risk to the potential widening and deepening of the conflict. And we said from very, very early on when the president ordered additional military capability that we don't want to see any actor, state or non-state, widen or deepen and escalate this conflict. And what the Houthis are doing could have that effect. Now, this goes to Jackie's question. Are we in a conflict with the Houthis? We're not in a conflict in the Houthis right now. We're not seeking a conflict with the Houthis. But what we are seeking is to be able to defend ourselves and to prevent this conflict from widening. And that's the better answer. I should have given it to you.
Thank you, Karine. The UN has described the...
It just takes me a while to get there. It's got to get... Yeah, sorry.